Hi everyone, in today's video we're going to route types and why you should vary them. Now this really plays more of a role for people who are going to be doing some sort of periodized training, working through say a speed work block of 5k, 10k stuff, moving into say either marathon or half marathon training for a period after that. Now the two different types of distances, the speed work and the endurance block, they need different kind of types of training sessions and route types really should vary with them as well. It's not uncommon in the coaching I've done over the years to see people doing 5k, 10k training where they're trying to still do quite big loops. They're doing walk recoveries on the roads, and there's a few other kind of issues around that, around like kind of stop start, around junctions and things like that as well. So this is where things can change, and ideally would change to make sure you're getting the best effect you possibly can from those training sessions with as few interruptions as possible. Equally into the marathon or half marathon block, if we have a few interruptions, it's less of a problem. You can also be traveling at lower speeds, so you can more safely cross junctions because you've got time to have a good look and there's less risk of tripping over and things. So this can be really useful. So some of the common kind of route types you might find. So people often do a lot of loops, or they'll kind of run to a certain point, loop around a little bit, and then they'll kind of head back on another little kind of other loop. So almost like a figure of eight. That's quite a common way to do things. Or you kind of do a bit of a lollipop where you run out to a certain point, you run a bigger loop, and then you kind of come back in yourself. Really good options, and they can work incredibly well, kind of to a certain degree for both the speed run block and the long run block, or marathon training block, sorry. But there are some better options potentially for particularly the speed work block. So what I would often suggest for speedwork is that you do some out and backs, or certainly a relatively straight, unbroken piece of path or road where you can run and you have not got to worry about crossing a junction in the distance you need to run at, or taking on too many turns either. Turning at high speed has got some risk, and especially if you're doing lots of fairly short leaps, you could be turning again and again and again in the same direction quite sharply. Then it can create some overloading of certain areas of the body, such as the ankle and hip, and create aches and pains, or the chance of aches and pains anyway. So out and backs are great. They also work really, really well if you're looking at doing some pacing, so really working on negative splits. If you're a slight uphill on one section, slight downhill the other way around, that can also work incredibly well. The other option as well are the lollipops I mentioned a while ago. Now these can work really, really well if you do have a couple of kind of bigger stints where you're going to be running, say, a kilometre or a mile at your race pace. You can just get that 1k or 1 mile kind of knocked out, take a bit of walk recovery, start again on the next leap, and then go again. Now, a lot of this will come down to route planning in particular, so doing some good research on Google Maps, on Strava or Garmin Connect or Coros, whatever watch you're using, there'll be some sort of variation to find some routes, no doubt. But planning is really, really key. Long runs and the marathon block, and the tempos, the pyramid runs, and things like that you're going to do during sort of half marathon training also need some thought. So this is where bigger figure eights can come in really handy. It gives you a chance to put some drinks down. So if you're running and you don't like a hydration pack, a bigger loop where you go through 2 or 3 times, but you maybe do a bit of a figure eight and you come back for a second or even a third round of that. Really, really good option. It's not quite so boring as doing like lots of the same lap, but it does give you multiple times, and maybe 2 miles to put down a drink, grab a drink. Really, really good option, especially if it's also during hot summer times, well, which again then can lend into your speed work block potential as well with the out and backs. There are tons of options, but what I would say is don't just go with your normal route. Pick out some different varieties, different ways you might train to get better benefits, fewer breaks, and obviously enhancing safety as well, so you can get the best from your training as possible.